So, maggots, Mr. Popo wants to know what the best attack in Dragon Ball Z is. And I'll teach you the pecking order right now. Anyway, uh, my Popo's a little off at the moment. I used to do it better, Mr. Popo. But anyway, yeah, so Mr. Popo, actually, the person who asked is Mr. Popo, asked what I thought was the best attack in Dragon Ball Z. Now, understand, there's two different ways to ask me that question. What do I think is the actual best, how was the most effective attack in Dragon Ball Z, or what do I just think is the coolest, the most badass one? Now, there's a lot of attacks in Dragon Ball Z, from Dragon Ball, Dragon Ball Z, Dragon Ball Super, and GT has some pretty impressive ones as well. There's also the games too. So for this one, I'm only going to be really limiting it to what we know is technically canon. Super is generally considered canon. So, I mean, people might not like it. It's like, why is GT not canon? Because they have to explain a lot of shit now because of that and this and that. And not everyone liked GT, so screw GT. Also, was not done by the actual people. It was done by someone else. Akira Toriyama only just had some say in it. So, we're really only going to go over Dragon Ball Z, and some Super. So, right off the bat, I mean, and I'm only going to go over some... And we're going by attack. We're not going by technique. So, instant transmission, that touching people and turning them into carrots by Boss Rabbit, that's not an attack, it's a technique. There is a difference. Attack is something that would actually hurt someone. So, and I guess I will include the movies as well. So, I mean, let's go over Dragon Ball real quick. We only have a couple real unique ones in Dragon Ball. I mean, that's where the Kamehameha got introduced. That's where the Dodon Beam, but Dodon Beam is just a laser, whatever. The Kamehameha, the Wolf-Fang Fist, that was a cool early technique. You know, Wolf-Fang Fist! It's like that was a cool kind of little early technique. It wasn't, granted, it was just punches, mind you, but it was a cool little early technique. The Kamehameha, we'll get to the Kamehameha just for Dragon Ball Z's sake, because that's like the all-time signature Dragon Ball Z move. And I'm trying to think, who else? I know there was like the mouth beam you see from Piccolo, King Piccolo. That was interesting, but nothing amazing. And then that's what Yamcha introduced, that energy control ball as well. That was kind of fun. I don't think that was ever named, was it? I can't remember, but that was kind of fun. That was a cool little technique. They could have expanded on that a bit more, but they never did. So Dragon Ball really didn't have a lot of attacks in Dragon Ball. Obviously, we got to go to Dragon Ball Z. Now, with Dragon Ball Z, right off the bat, I mean, you got the Kamehameha. The Kamehameha is probably one of the most signature techniques, attacks in all of anime. I mean, how many of us as kids didn't go, Kamehameha? How many of us didn't do that as a kid? And I mean, the build, what's fun about the technique is partly the build up to the technique. It's just, it's like you're waiting for it. You get into that awesome, standard pose. It's got sometimes he does this too, which is weird. It's really just cupping your hands in there. And what's cool about it is the diversity of the technique as well. Not just is it just that cool boom. Some of the most epic moments came from with the Kamehameha. Whether you have the Kamehameha from your feet, the Kamehameha versus the Gatling gun, the Kamehameha, the times 20 Kamehameha that Frieza took. Obviously, Goku's Warp Kamehameha, which we saw several times. Obviously, the best one was against Cell, though the Toppo one was pretty cool. The slide on the attack and face blast Kefla Kamehameha Ultra Instinct. One of the best moments in Dragon Ball Z, Dragon Ball in general. That hands down is one of my favorite moments. Easily in Super, it's one of the top 5, no doubt. But I'd argue it's probably in the top 10 or 15 moments in Dragon Ball in general. Just a whoosh, boom, and then that look on Kefla's face, just, and you hear the guys, they had to 3-peat it. Oh, it was beautiful. But then you got other versions too. Gohan's one-arm, we've never seen that again in Dragon Ball Z or any form. A one-arm Kamehameha. Like, why hasn't Goku ever maybe tried, or Gohan, or anyone tried to 2 Kamehamehas at once? Come on! Gohan did it. Was that just like a fluke with Gohan? So I'm not certain, but the Kamehameha is one of the best signature techniques ever. So I'm not going to really rank them, but I'll say what my favorite and what I think is the best technique. The only downside of Kamehameha is you do need some charge time. Now, you can do it without actually doing Kamehameha. They've shown that you can do that. But I think it's one of those things like in Bleach, too. If you know the attack name of a Zanpakuto, the attack is far greater. I think that's the case. Actually, it's like kind of like a mantra or a chant. It helps strengthen the attack. Then, of course, you move on to Piccolo. Was it Masenkapalo or Masenkapalo? I can't remember. Masenkapalo. That's why I called it the Special Beam Cannon. That one's a cool technique. That I think it's an effective technique if you can get it off. But the downside, obviously, is you have to charge the son of a bitch. You'll notice, too, we don't see it the Kamehameha we see all the time, and a lot of the characters know it. But Gohan knows it, Krillin knows it, Tien knows it, Yamcha knows it, Master Roshi created the technique. Goku knows it. Goten knows it. 7 people know the Kamehameha. I'm certain Vegeta and Piccolo could learn it if they really wanted to. The androids could learn it if they wanted to. It's not a hard technique to learn. It's just only a couple of them know it to such an extent that it's a truly dangerous technique. Whereas Special Beam Cannon, only Piccolo knows it, and we don't see it. We hardly see it. We saw it against Raditz, and it blew a hole through Raditz and Goku. We saw it against Cell, except Cell, we saw Cell use it. And that's the thing. Other than that, we saw it in the Universe 6 tournament and the Universe of Tournament of Power, and it was trying to break the barrier that was being covered by over the stage. But for an attack that's as powerful as Piccolo understands its weakness. So for an effective attack, for the best attack, I can't call it the best because the longer you charge it, the better it is. But you need to charge it. Whereas the Kamehameha is just a straight attack that you put energy into. So I can't really put the Special Beam over the Kamehameha. For effectiveness or my favorite attack, though I really like it. I will say Krillin's Destructo Disc or Kienzan is also known, does fall into one of my favorite attacks. Simply because it's a buzzsaw energy blade that could have killed Frieza, honestly, had it hit properly. It cut off his tail like that, so it probably could have just killed Frieza had it hit him in Namek. Maybe that's a what if I should do. And Krillin can bust, I killed Frieza! I killed Cell! Which he can't actually make that argument. He did kill the President Cell at that point. But again, the issue is partly the charge time, but Krillin's alleviate. Krillin can do it pretty just boop, 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 and he can do multi ones too. He did what was it? That's a technique that Goku copied as well. What was it, it's a technique that he copied from Krillin because he saw Krillin use it. Destructo Disc, Hexa something or other. Basically, he cut down the stage with the Destructo Discs. And, it was able to cut off Vegeta's tail. It was able to kill, or could have killed Vegeta, honestly. It could have killed Frieza. The only one it couldn't have killed was Cell, because Cell was the only individual that when the Destructo Disc hit him, it just went into half, which was to illustrate how powerful Cell had become at that point. Because we'd seen at that point that the Destructo Disc was Krillin's trump card. And when the trump card fails, he's like, oh no! So, I love the Destructo Disc. Other than that, though, there's not many other signature attacks from the standard lineup of the Z-Fires originally. Chaozu's got psychic powers, but that's not an attack. He can self-destruct, sure, but that's nothing really fun. Tien does have the Neo Tri-Beam, where Shingeki, which obviously was Tien's pretty much his defining moment in the entire series, where Tien, a human, at this point in Dragon Ball Z Abridged really highlighted that point where it's like, you know what? It's like you're the old power level. You're no Namek. You're no Saiyan. You're just a human. And with your power level, you can't do anything. Oh yeah, well, Super Saiyan, fuck Megans, and fuck you, Shingeki, Gekko. So and it's not even first form cell, it's second form cell, and he's not just keeping him down. He's not hurting him like seriously, but he is hurting him. So it's like that was an awesome moment. That is a cool. Now again, it's one of the things that he needs a moment to like focus on his opponent and charge. Which in terms of the best technique, I can't. Goku can do his attack faster than Tien can. That's the problem. I mean, you can do the multi-arm technique, which is a cool technique. The multi-form technique is a technique, not an attack. If we were going by techniques, I'd say the instantaneous movement that the Kais know is probably one of the best techniques. Because technically instant transmission, instant travel. So really, I mean, and then Gohan doesn't actually have a signature technique. He's got the Masenko Ha, it's the Masenko, but Masenko Ha. He learned that from Piccolo, which is Piccolo's technique, and that's just an energy blast. So there's nothing really fun about that. Then you move over to Cell. Not Cell, sorry. I should backtrack real quick. Piccolo does have one other really cool technique. It's the Hell Zone Grenade. You remember the Hell Zone Grenade? Oh, hey, you're missing it. That's the point. What? Oh, shit. That, have them all float, blow up. That's a cool technique. Again, it's something that requires prep time, so I can't call it the best, but it is a cool technique. I liked that one. I mean, with the Ginyu Force didn't have any real cool attacks. Guldo could freeze time as long as he could hold his breath. That's cool and all, but it's hit completely trumps Guldo in every time capacity. And we'll get to hit. We'll get to super. I'm trying to speed through everything. None of Frieza's henchmen really had any signature attacks. Starbone could transform, whatever. Rakuma Racer Gun. He just blast an energy blast at your ass. His mouth, but his ass. Jace and Burter had like these energy attacks that were like blue and red. Didn't really do anything. It was they mixed to create like a purple attack. It wasn't that interesting. And then Ginyu has his body swap, but again, a technique, not a attack. But if I were to call it, even as a technique, I actually wasn't a big fan of the body swapping. I thought it was a stupid gimmick to put Goku out of commission for the fight. So that's my real take on that. So, I mean, then you get the Frieza. Now, Frieza, I can say, actually has both effective and relatively, not just cool technique, like the Death Beam. His standard Death Beam is not just a cool attack, it's just a boom finger laser that Goku copied again. But yeah, and he can do it with multi-fingers like this, create even a cage. It's an effective and very easy to use technique. Just boom, 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 boom. He can fire it like a gun. That might go up on the list of best techniques. Absolutely. Now, the only downside is power-wise, you don't get a very... Death Beams are concentrated, but, anyone can block them. Goku blocked his Death Beams, for God's sake. And Goku easily could block his Death Beams now. So, it's not the most high-powered techniques. It does lose points on that. But Frieza doesn't just have that. Frieza has psychic abilities. He can put you in I can't remember, it was like an explosive energy ball that he trapped Goku in and like playing like a hot potato with him. So there was that. Goku, then there was, I'm trying to remember a couple of the other ones. Because he had a few. Oh, there was the homing energy discs, which I don't believe ever got a name. Were they like death discs or something like that? I don't think they ever got a name. But that was a cool take on, it was similar to the Destructo disc, but added, up the ante. He was able to basically track it, but it ultimately killed him in the end. So that was pretty cool. Again, though, it looked like also he had to charge it up a little bit. After a while, Krillin could just do it automatically. Shame we never saw that in the Tournament of the Power, now that I think about it. Frieza could have just tacked limbs off. But, of course, the Death Ball. The Death Ball was his signature one, and that's like a signature technique in Dragon Ball as well. Boop, this little energy ball, and then boom. I'm going to destroy a planet with my finger. Bye-bye, filthy monkeys. Learn to take a bath next time. So yeah, that is one of the most badass looking things ever. And to reiterate the point, Cooler even says, like, I can gather energy a lot faster than my brother can. And we even see in the second movie, which is like, boop, and then just boom. So, yeah, it's one of those things that we see just how devastating this attack is and just how powerful it is. So I would also put that up on the pedestal. Right now, I'd say the Death Beam, Kamehameha, and the Death Ball probably fight it out for best techniques, honestly. For best in terms of effectiveness and just overall coolest techniques. Then you move over to the Android Saga. The Android Saga, none of these guys had really any unique techniques of their own. The androids didn't have any techniques that are unique to their own. Cell certainly didn't, because he was just an amalgamation of everyone else. So he had everyone else's techniques, but nothing of his own unique techniques. So ultimately, I mean, I can't say anything in any other favors. Vegeta does have one or two attacks of his own. Vegeta obviously has the Gallic Gun, which is his version of the Kamehameha, but frankly, it's just the Gallic on fire. Not as cool as the Kamehameha. The Kamehameha actually has that build-up, that anticipation to do that Kamehameha. Especially when you like have the long builds, again, like Kefla versus Goku. Then you've got like the super long, then you got the super long build where it's like that whole scene where you get the music building up, it's like fantastic. I love it. Again, you could argue like maybe 17's energy shield is an attack, but it's more of a technique, though he was able to make it offensive when he took out Aniraza, so I could. So there's that. Vegeta also has the Big Bang attack, which that's not the greatest attack in the world, but it is at least cool to watch it go Big Bang attack, and then boom. That is a cool thing to watch. Let's see. And of course you got his unnamed sacrifice move where he basically blows himself up, which that's got some nostalgia. See, the cool aspect of that technique wasn't the actual technique. It was the emotional weight and the music and the scene when he first did it that played a part into just how much power went into that whole scene, how cool that was. And then when he did it again, that's why it was so good when we got the callback to it when he did it again against Toppo. So that's why that technique really worked in that context. But still, right now, I would still put it's the Death Beam, the Death Ball, and the Kamehameha. I'd still put the Kamehameha probably as number 1 right now, but I would put the Death Beam probably as number 2, with the Death Ball probably coming in number 3. Then you pretty much fast forward all the way into the Buu Saga and the anime, and then maybe like the Universe Tournament of Power. You got the only thing in the Universe Tournament of Power I can really remember is Pikeut's Thunder Flash Attack. Yeah, really what? Look, he's shooting energy like lightning and fire and all that stuff at Goku, which is cool, but there's like so much emphasis on the movements and stuff, like, and not that cool. It's not that cool. It's a cool kind of attack in just boom, like he has to do that, but ultimately Goku's actually is just more effective, just Kamehameha, and then that's how he blew Pikeut off the stage. So and then you move to the Buu Saga again. Nothing unique that really shows up until you get to maybe Deborah's. It is spit technically is a technique, but you could argue that's an attack. It is unique, but I wouldn't really call it even if you decide to call it that, it's unique, but not the coolest thing in the world. It's like, that's interesting. You did that. Oh well. Moving on. Buu does have 1 or 2 tricks up his sleeve. I mean, besides normal energy attacks, most of his abilities come with magic, like his Chocolate Beam. Chocolate Beam is both an attack and technique, and that's probably one of those hacks things in the world, because I don't know anyone in the Dragon Ball Z universe, even Jiren, who would be, or even technically Beerus, who has magic immunity. Maybe the only one is Whis, who can use magic in his own right. So ultimately, that's a cool technique, and in terms of best, it's the most effective. But anyone who's got magic can rebound it. But the problem is in Dragon Ball Z, there's not a lot of magic users. So I might argue that's even better than Goku's Kamehameha. Problem is, though, it's not. It's one of those things that you could easily avoid it when it really comes down to it. We've never seen like change path, like go omnidirectional like the Omega Beams Darkseid has, or anyone control its direction. So it's probably easier to avoid than even say the Kamehameha when you really break it down, because it's not an attack. It's just it is kind of a technique to some degree. But at the same time, it does work on the same principle as an attack. So it's kind of here or there. I would probably put it above, say, the Death Ball, but not above the Death Beam, because the Death Beam you can just go boom, whereas Boo needs at least a moment up to a prep time to realize what he's doing. I've got a pain in my eye. Yeah, I'm not having a heart attack. Trust me, I'm checking on that, like, on and off. I've been having this freaking not like super like I'm like, oh god, but it's like, ow, like an achy sharp pain. But it's on and off too, so it's not like constant. Yeah, I mean, in Super you do get a couple Super the Busa, you do get a couple unique little things, but overall I'd still put the Kamehameha as number one, honestly. With Super, that's where everything just goes apeshit, man. Let's start with Beerus. Okay, I can create pretty much a flaming hot. I can do what Frieza does, only better. Oh wait, you know what you want better? I can basically erase anything from existence. That's kind of the most hacks technique, and that probably has to supersede the Kamehameha at that point. The only thing it's implied he can't do is kill immortals. That's the only thing Beerus is implied he can't do. But then again, the Kamehameha couldn't either. Other than that, the Hakai and Hakai energy, destructive energy, can pretty much destroy and kill anything. Minus the energy itself can be circumvented with like some extra god like divine key, like Vegeta showed against Toppo. However, the actual technique of Hakai, as we see when like both Seadra and Beerus erase things, it just erases you from existence. Likewise, the Omni King, I'm not going to include the Omni King's attack because all I'm really counting that as is a giant super Hakai is what I'm doing. That's why it's the perfect Hakai. Then, I mean, you move to the Universe Tournament of Power, which showed off a couple attacks, nothing serious. I mean, you have Megarda's lava like blasting, just bleh. So that's kind of cool. Obviously, we got to talk about Hit's time skip. The time skip, again, is a hacks technique. Unless you're someone like a God Destruction or like Goku who just learns as you fight, you're kind of screwed against that thing. That thing could take out just about anyone, or your Jiren. So unless you are top tier in your universe, top tier in the fight, you're pretty screwed against the time skip. The time skip is going to take you out. And I mean, it's just the coolest. Like, I basically move, what was it, like 0.1 seconds forward in time, and it's like, thanks to you, Goku, I'm improving. It's now, I can move a full second in time. Now it's 2 seconds. Now it's 3 seconds. So it's like, yeah, that's pretty fucking scary. Not to mention the fact that he can actually basically physically put himself in another dimension. And also store all the time he skips over thousands of years and put it in a time cage and basically keep you trapped in time and not moving. Jiren just happened to be stronger than time itself, so he was able to circumvent that. So Hit's time skip arguably might even it probably goes above the Kamehameha as well. Because it's not the Kamehameha that ultimately beat Hit, it was just Goku's overall power and technique and skill. So, I mean, right now, I would probably put the Hakai as number one, but the time skip is probably like the second one down. And then you go into the Goku Black Art. Now, the Goku Black Art didn't have a lot of actual techniques that were unique. You do see the energy sword, and Vegito uses that as well. And you do see the final Flash Kamehameha. So, the Kamehameha. So, that was pretty cool to see. Effectiveness-wise, though, I can't say it's impressive. It's really not. It's better than the Kamehameha and the Final Flash, which I did forget the Final Flash. I will say, the Final Flash does have a lot of cool build up to it. That especially the first time Vegeta used it, just Final Flash! Oh, how cute. He named, oh shit! So, but I'd probably put it on par with the Kamehameha, maybe just a little tier lower than it. Simply on the grounds that the Kamehameha has just that cooler kind of build-up with a Kamehameha, and then it all depends on the context in which he's using the Final Flash. That could be cooler than the Kamehameha, but the Kamehameha has had more opportunities to shine, so the Kamehameha does have that advantage over it. I'm trying to think real quick. Goku Black had the energy sword, which is cool. He did do the scythe. The scythe was a cool thing to see. But ultimately it was kind of, it falls to the wayside. He did cut a hole in the fabric of the universe, but still. So, then there's not much else that stood out in the Goku Black arc in terms of, attacks. And then obviously you go to the universe tournament of power, or tournament of survival. Going universe to universe, you do have the Trio de Dangers, the tri-beam attack, which was cool looking, but ultimately ineffective. I'm not going universe by universe in my head right now. Universe 10, really attack? Universe 10 did not have really anything to brag about. Universe 9 we just went over. I'm gonna say Universe 11 for last, for obvious reasons. Who was next? It was Universe 2, 3, 4, and there was one other one that was 9. Okay, yeah. So yeah, Universe 7, 9, 10, 11, 2, 3, 4. That's 7. Who am I missing here? 6. Okay, yeah, 6. So go off of 6 real quick. Caulifla and Kale, neither of them had anything super effective. Near the Namekian second, no one besides had any attacks that actually stood out. Kefla did have that weird, rainbow green red Christmas color attack, which was interesting. And then she had the laser light show, which was a very powerful and dangerous final move to use, but Goku's also instant counteracted it. They were interesting. They were fine. Universe 4? Ugh. Who was on Universe 4? I'm trying to remember all the guys that had Universe 4 and their attacks. Yeah, Universe 4, now I think about it, did not have anything really. You had the Illusion Lady, you had the girl who could make energy weapons, which that's kind of cool. You did have, what was his name? The guy who turned into a chicken or bird. That was interesting, but ultimately he had an electric attack that was kind of alright. No one really stood out in Universe 4. Universe 3... Ugh. Yeah, I just realized, Universe 3 didn't have anyone in terms of attacks that were really cool. Because, Universe 3 was a lot of machines, but ultimately nothing that stood out, besides Aniraza, who did have some cool techniques, didn't really have any really interesting attacks. So, and the robots had laser eyes and stuff like that. That's fine. Then Universe 2. Universe 2 did have some attacks, though. Particularly the firecracker girls or whatever. Brienne had a couple attacks, but let's be clear. The hearts, Heart Blast and Love, and it's what? And then she turns into a giant, what am I looking at with this shit right now? I do not know. So that was meh. But then of course you have Universe 11, who had Popo knew Hakai and stuff like that, and then he has Justice Flash, which was fine. Honestly, the attack that stood out to me more than anything from anyone on that team, and a couple of them did have some cool stuff. I think there was one that had a kind of similar to Hellzone grenade attack. But the other one had explosive ribbons. That was actually kind of cool. But ultimately, the attack that stood out to me was that attack that Jiren did. It's unnamed, and Goku just kind of like, no. When he's about to take out Goku's going Mastered Ultra Instinct, he makes this giant ass orb, basically a sun, and then condenses it in his palm for a final attack. It's like that big. I'm like, dude, you basically take all that power, condense it, compress it, and then when it's released, it's basically a pretty basic law of like thermodynamics and stuff like that. You condense the power to create more pressure, so when it actually hits, the power that goes through there is far more devastating and powerful. But ultimately, we never saw it because Goku just like, no. So that stands out to me. But the problem is that when you're uber powerful, if you're not uber powerful, attack like that, while powerful, would not be as effective because you still need to take time to charge it up. And if you're against a powerful opponent, it's not going to matter. So really, to me, the attacks right now that stood out are the time skip, the Hakai, and then the Kamehameha, I think, in that order, plus the Death Beam and the Death Ball. However, I will say, in terms of the movies real quick, because I'm at 30 minutes, I want to wrap this up. The only real unique attacks that have ever stood out to me in the movies to date would be what actually the Energy Blast Broly does, which starts out as this little ball and then just expands and just encompasses everything. That's kind of cool. And then Gogeta's, and obviously the Dragon Fist is a signature technique, but it's not in GT, and I'm not going to include it in GT. But because otherwise we'll be here for another 10 minutes, and I don't want to make a 40-minute video. Is that, what was that Rainbow Crush? Basically, I think they eliminated all the evil in Janemba and just erased him. That I thought was pretty cool. But ultimately, yeah, I would probably say the best techniques, honestly, are probably the Hakai, or best attacks. The best attack is probably the Hakai, then the time skip, and I'd actually probably go the Kamehameha, followed by the Death Beam and then the Death Ball, and nothing else in any particular order. And there's plenty more I could go over, but we've already gone way too far on this video. Anyway, thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed. Like, comment, share, subscribe. As always, if you want us to review something, put in the comments below. Let us know. We'll do a review of it at some point. Idea of who would win, Star Wars, Super Rare, Magic, what if, anything I'm going to do on the channel, put that in the comments below. Any more discussions you want me to bring up, I'm always happy to do them. These are actually kind of fun, because it kind of gives me an outlet just to talk about stuff. So, yeah, I enjoy that. But anyway, thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you next time.